good friends, Keri here with the Creative Life Studios. Thanks for coming back for part 2 of our series about what mediums work best in the new illustrating Bible from Dayspring. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, part 1 is all about ink pads and different kinds of pens. So go check that out now or after the video, whichever you'd like. In this episode, we're going to discuss acrylic paints and watercolors. So sit back and relax, and let's do a little bit of experimenting. Have a great day. All right, friends, we are back for part 2 of just testing out some different mediums in our illustrating Bible from Dayspring. Like I said in the intro, this is part 2. Part 2 is going to deal with acrylic paints and watercolors. And then if you're interested in part 1, which you should be, it's very informative. It actually surprised me on a few things. So I've got the page right here. So in part 1, we went over ink pads, stamping, and some different markers and pens. So you can kind of see we did some doodles and some stamping, and then kind of went through that. So check out part 1 if you want to know the best ink pads and the best markers and pens to give that a try. So if you didn't see part 1 yet, you'll kind of might be wondering why am I doing this in my Bible. You can see I'm in the back. The last 2 pages are actually blank, which is super cool. So it gives me a chance to kind of play with these mediums without having to forfeit a page of scripture to do it. So I was super excited when I found that out. So we're going to jump in, and we're going to start with, move these out of the way. So we're going to start with our acrylic paints, and I'm just going to be brushing those on just like you would. Ooh, that was kind of loud, my bad. Just like you would be if you were painting. And we're going to try a couple different kinds. We're going to start out with just kind of your plain everyday craft paint. Let me shake that up a little bit. This happens to be one of my favorite colors. It's called bluegrass green. I don't know if that's an oxymoron or what, but I like it and it's pretty. So we're going to give that a try. And like I said, I'm just going to be painting it on just with just a brush. Which brush do I want to use? There we go. Just a plain little brush. And I'm not going to go super heavy. We'll try a couple of... So I'm almost doing like kind of a dry brush kind of technique. So you can kind of see very little paint. And then I'm going to load my brush up a little bit more to amp up the opaqueness of it. So you can kind of see that. Dump that in there. And I always like to write on there what I've done so I kind of have an idea. So this is Deco Art, what do we say, blue grass green. That sounds weird. And it's Americana is their little brand. And you can kind of see the difference. So let's flip that over and let's get an idea of what it looks like on the back side. Oh, pleasantly surprised. Look at that. Little, like hardly any noticeability on the dry brush technique, and a very little on when I kind of loaded up that brush a little bit more. So that's, not gonna lie, I'm a little pleasantly surprised. A little bit of buckling, but nothing, again, that is a deal breaker. I am kind of pleasantly surprised by that. So that's excitement, much excitement. So in all of the statistics for this new Bible, Dayspring states that the pages are 75% thicker than your regular journaling Bibles, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot if you're just playing with different mediums. So that's one of the reasons I decided to do this particular video. So now we're going to try, let's try this one. So now we're going to try something that is a little bit thicker. So this is a Pebeo metallic high viscosity. It's one of my favorites. It's this great, I don't know what the actual color is called. It's kind of a bronzy color. It's one of my favorite. Oh, iridescent copper. There you go. Now we know. The more you know. So we're going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to do kind of a dry brush technique. And then we're going to do a little bit thinner or thicker. So dry brush, the little guy on there, dry brush. All right, then I'm going to load my brush up more. And this one's called a high viscosity, so it's kind of an in-between what would be kind of the consistency of your craft paint and then what would be considered more of a heavy-bodied acrylic, which we'll play with that here in just a second. So this is Pebeo High Viscosity. I think I spelled that wrong, so we just won't talk about that. In iridescent copper. I almost spelled Cooper. Nope, that's my daughter's school. All right, so let's flip that over and see what that looks like. Again, not too bad. Definitely not a whole lot of anything on that dry brush. A little bit of kind of a ghosted on the kind of medium application, but no actual bleed through. So again, pleasantly surprised by that. All right, so now let's try what would be considered like a heavy bodied acrylic. Let me grab one I've got up here. I haven't used this in a while, so we'll give it a try. So this is a heavy bodied acrylic from a company called the Crafters Workshop. So it's gonna be, so if this was small, medium, this is gonna be large when it comes to thickness. Can you do paint thicknesses with small, medium, and large? I don't know. I just did though. All right, let's clean our brush off, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do kind of a dry brush technique with it, dry. And then I'm gonna kind of load it up and do kind of a heavier application. This one's called Blueberry Pie. It looks pretty accurate, doesn't it? All right, so I lost my pen. No, I didn't. This is the Crafters Workshop heavy-bodied acrylic in Blueberry Pie. All right, let's see what that looks like on the other side. So you can definitely see that the heavy-bodied, and it could be the color too, of course those are pretty similar, gives you definitely a more ghosted concentration. If you do kind of the medium application. Dry brush, you're still good, but neither one of them actually broke through the surface and bled through. Let me scoot it this way so you can kind of see. So these are the three acrylics. A little bit of ghosting from each of them, but none of them actually broke through and actually bled through the paper. So yay, that's pretty cool. That is definitely good to know. So if you keep a light hand, or even a medium hand, you shouldn't have to worry about your acrylic paints bleeding through, which is super cool, and I'm not gonna lie, totally didn't expect that at all. So we'll call it pleasantly surprised by that. All right, now we're gonna try, which one are we gonna try next? All right, next we are gonna try, if you aren't familiar with these, this is another thing by a company called Marabou. It is a art spray, so it's basically a liquid acrylic spray. So think of it as a liquid kind of acrylic paint. So we're gonna give that a try, but two, I'm gonna protect my surface a little bit here because I don't want to spray it everywhere. So we're gonna cover up kind of what we've already done and just make ourselves like a little square. Boom. Behave. And then one of my favorite things to do with spray inks is to do it through a stencil. So I'm going to grab this little stencil I have from Keri Studios, and I'm going to shake this up. I always like to do a test spray kind of off screen so I know it's going to work well for me. So we're going to do just a light, I think I might have it. Normally it sprays better than that, but that's okay. It's getting the job done. So And then I always like to actually take it and use it like a stamp too. I'm not sure if this is... So there's those two options. So we're going to write on, and we'll write it over this way. So this is Marabou Art Spray. And there are a few other companies that make sprayable acrylics. So you don't necessarily use this one, but they're all pretty dang similar in how they work. So let's, oh yeah. Lot going on there. So definitely if you want to use something like a spray acrylic, you want to definitely prep that page. There's a lot of bleed through on that one. But that's okay. That's why we're doing this kind of thing, so we can kind of test things out and try them and see what we like and what we don't like. And it's for me to test out so that you do not have to. We're going to test out one more kind of acrylic paint. I'm going to grab it real quick. I thought I had already done that. So we're going to test out one more that's really popular, and that is going to be Diane Rivley's Delusions. It comes in a little kind of pot like this. This one is called Squeezed Orange. It's very in the vein of kind of in between these two viscosity-wise. You can see though the colors are beautiful and they're totally in my wheelhouse. If you know me at all, I love bright colors. I mean, I have pink hair for crying out loud. So lots of, you know, really vibrant pinks and blues and greens and obviously oranges and yellows. So let's do a little bit of a dry brush technique again. A dry brush, and then we'll pick up a little bit extra paint and give kind of that medium weight. But you have to admit, come on, that orange is beautiful. Love it. I think I have 5, 6 colors of this paint. It's very smooth, very nice to work with, gives you a great solid opaque kind of finish. I do also like the packaging because I feel like it's easier to use all of the paint, whereas in something like this, you're constantly having to shake it down and be like, well, did I get it all? Did I not get it all? I really like this kind of way that they've packaged that because of that particular reason. So we're going to write on there, Delusions and Squeezed Orange. So let's try that out. Let's see what that looks like on the other side. And yeah, a little bit of a ghost color, but again, didn't bleed through all the way. I have nothing breaking through the surface. So I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised by how well this paper is holding up to a wet medium like an acrylic paint. So that's super duper exciting. Art spray, not a fan, unless I would have prepped the page first. So that's kind of the acrylics. So let's move on to like our watercolors. So I've got a couple different watercolor things to try. The first one, of course, we have to pay homage to Illustrated Faith. So this is their watercolor line, and it comes in this cute little, if you haven't seen it, doodad. I just got it, so I haven't actually opened it yet, so bear with me. I'm just going to open one of the colors for right now. We are going to be playing with, oh great, it's one of those weird names, Phthalocyanan Green. Or let's just call it watercolor number 17. I was like, don't really know what color that's supposed to say, so we're just going to make that up as we go. So if you're not familiar with the way watercolors come, these are what's called a pan of watercolors, and you can kind of peel this little guy back, maybe, possibly, supposed to. Obviously just got these, so I haven't had a chance to really use them yet. So you can see it kind of comes in a little thing like that. And what's cool is the little case it comes in, you just snap that little guy back in there, and he lives there. So I'm going to try a little bit different of a brush for this just because it is a watercolor. So we're going to pick up just some watercolor. I'm not going to add a whole lot of water just yet. So just going to, just enough to kind of get some color going. And then I'm going to add quite a bit more of water. You can kind of see it right there. And go for definitely more of a heavier watercolor kind of consistency. And the big thing with that is I'm going to let that just sit just for just a second, and that way you can get a really good idea of whether it does bleed through or not. So we're going to label these our illustrated faith water colors. I'm going to see what that does. I'll play with you later, pretty. All right, let's flip that over, see what we got going on. Alrighty, so you can definitely see that really light application of water. Nothing, you're totally good. If you go for a true watercolor where it's very, moisture heavy, definitely having some pop through. And it seems like as it's sitting, it's bleeding through even more. So if watercolors are your thing, I would definitely curb back the amount of water you used, or prep your page with something like an activated ground or something like that that's made for watercolors. So there is that. Now we're going to try a couple things that are some of my faves. And I'm feeling we're going to have problems similar to the Illustrated Faith, so we'll give it a try. So if you're not familiar with it, these are called Neo colors, and I'm going to pop this open. And they're basically a water-soluble wax pastel. So you can use them one of two ways. You can either pick them up like a crayon, draw with them, and then activate it with water to move the color around your paper. Or you can take your paintbrush, touch it to your crayon of choice, and then paint with it very similar to the way you would a watercolor. So we are going to give that a try. And we're going to go for kind of a medium to dark color, just so we get a really good idea, because I think it would be really easy to go, oh, this light pink doesn't show through. Well, most light pinks don't. So we're going to try, we're going to stick in kind of this color family I got going on. So, oh, I just got water on that. So, like I said, you could do it one of two ways. You can either scribble and then just use your water to activate it. I'm going to dry it off. And so we're going to do a light hand of water. And you can see it moves around fairly well, no matter whether you use a lot of water or a little water. And so that might be the key for this to work well. I'm going to write on there real quick which side. So this was light water. This was heavier water. And these are Neo colors. And then the other technique, like I said, is you can take your water and directly touch it to your crayon. You definitely don't get as vibrant of a color by doing this technique. Oh, you can't even see. Definitely very pale. This is my preferred method, but we're trying out everything today, so I'm going to put that up. And then we're going to direct from crayon. Alright, so let's flip that over and see what we got. So again, the amount of water you use makes such a huge difference. This was our heavier water. This was our lighter water. Very, very smidge of bleed through on the lighter water. A lot when we use the heavier water. Directly from the crayon, it was really similar to just using the light amount of water, but you get a more vibrant color if you use the scribble technique. But yeah, so it looks like when it's watercolors, it's all about just using a very, very light hand with that water. We're going to use one more kind of very similar product. and that is Inktense blocks. So imagine the vibrancy of those neo colors, but when they dry, they are permanent because they are an ink, which is super, super awesome, which a lot of people don't know about and don't use. This was my birthday present to myself one year, is I bought myself the big Mac Daddy set because I love them so much. Again, very similar. You can take it and do the kind of scribble on the page and then activate with water. So we're gonna go heavy water. And then I'm going to wipe it off really good and go kind of light with the water. Let's see, so heavy, light, and these are our Inktense blocks, and they're by a company called Derwent. You might have heard that for other things. And again, with these, you have that option to take water and touch directly to your block. Sorry, I should probably do that where you can see it. Directly to your block, which I'm hypothesizing, fancy science word, that is going to be our best bet for something like this because you get a lot better of a color. Can you see that? How much better that looks with less water on your paper. So we're going to write direct from block. All right, let's see what that looks like now. Yeah, not too bad. A little bit of ghosting, smidge of buckling. But look, if you go directly, a little bit of water directly to the block, no bleed through, not a whole lot of shadowing, but you get a super bright, vibrant color that moves a lot like a watercolor. So that would definitely be my suggestion if you wanted to use your something like an Inktense blocks. And again, what's super great about those is once you have it down, once it's dried, because it is an ink, then it's permanent. So then if you want to add more layers and that kind of thing, then you don't have to worry about lifting up your hard work of your background. So we're going to try one more thing here in this series. So these are called mermaid markers. They're basically pre-filled. Ooh, Siri's trying to talk to me. They are pre-filled, I guess, watercolor paint brushes, I guess would be the correct terminology. So we're going to try those. Again, I'm a little worried with how this is going to work as far as bleed through because they are super moist, for lack of a better word. They have a great kind of brush tip, so if you wanted to do just some pretty words, I'm going to do smiley face. But yeah, they're beautiful. They come in great colors. I have quite a few of them. Some of them even have glitter, so yay. They travel well. So anyway, just a little something on that. So let's see what that looks like. You know, there's a little bit of bleed through. So just a smidge here and there. Definitely, if you use a lighter hand and a lighter color, you could probably get away without prepping your page. But I wouldn't suggest it. I would suggest just prepping the page. So let's go back over some stuff. So this was our acrylic paint up here. We tried the Deco Art Americana. We tried the Pebeo High Viscosity. We tried the Crafters Workshop, a heavy bodied acrylic, and the Delusion. And I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. They all did. Let me scoot over just a little bit. They all did pretty good. No, this is where they all are. And the fact that I have to point it out just shows that there's no bleed through, which is pretty awesome. Some shadowing, but that's, you know, that's pretty normal because you're on white paper. But no breakthrough to the surface, which is pretty awesome. This was our art spray. Definitely. I mean, there's just no word to say. If you're going to use an art spray, definitely cover it with some clear gesso or something. So our other mediums we tried were some watercolors. We tried the Illustrated Faith watercolors, and we tried Neo colors. We tried some Jane Davenport Davenport, I can't talk today, mermaid markers, and then we also tried some Inktense blocks, and definitely found out that it's all about the amount of water that you do. I mean, none of them, even as they've kind of dried, you can kind of see, just get this over a little bit. Even the ones that had a little bit of breakthrough, once they've dried, it's not, it's almost like it's not as noticeable. Do you see that? Because these were the ones that had the heavier water, and there was just a smidge of breakthrough on those. But once they've dried, it's pretty much not there. The only one that we had that was with the Neo colors and the heavier water. It's the only one you can kind of still see through it. So I hope that is going to help you make some informed decisions when it comes to what mediums you want to use in your illustrating Bible. I'm super excited to finally get to, first of all, own this book, but be able to play on it and be able to do some fun new Bible journaling entries and videos and that kind of stuff. So this is part 2, where we dealt with acrylics and watercolors. If you're interested in part 1, that's the one where we dealt with ink pads and different kinds of pens. So check both of them out. Let me know if there is a medium that you're interested in trying, and I will try it for you. And I guess that is it. So you guys have an awesome day. Let me know how much you love this video by doing that thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day.